everyone. So in this video here, I'm going to be upgrading the RAM on my Atari VCS. Now this is the 800 variant, which means it has 8 gigs of RAM already installed, but I'm going to go ahead and upgrade it to 16 gigs. I was thinking of just maxing it out to 32 gigs, but after doing some research online, honestly, there isn't that much of a difference between 16 and 32. So I figured I'll go the cheaper route, go with 16 gigs. For the most part, you're still going to notice a noticeable speed difference with 16 versus 8. Going from 16 to 32, not so much. So that's what I'm going with. And the one I ended up getting is from G-Skill. Now this was a open box version, but if I take it out of the package, it's from G-Skill. And the thing you have to keep in mind with this stuff, so here's the RAM. The thing you have to keep in mind with this is you have to pair them up in pairs. So you can't do like one stick. It has to be with 2 sticks of RAM. So that's what I'm going with. And it seems like a lot of people that were successful in terms of upgrading the RAM were using this particular G-Skill RAM. And it has to be 2400 megahertz. So it has to be specifically that speed. It can't be slower. It can't be faster. Apparently, it's just how this device was designed. I was going to go with a different kind of RAM or a different brand of RAM, but I figured I'm going to be doing it as safely as possible and go with this particular one because this one is known to work fine with it. So let's go ahead and get started. I have the instructions on the side here. So this is more of me just upgrading the RAM. So first things first, I need to get my screwdriver out and get the Torx 10. And what I'm going to do is take this casing apart. The nice thing about it, and there were people like completely removing these rubber feet. You don't actually have to do that. You can literally just pull it up. It's actually designed to do that. You can just pull it to the side like so. And start removing the screw. And I'm going to do this for the other 3. Alright, I took the 4 screws out. Next thing I need to do is to remove this back part, which is actually just snapped together. So just take it and it comes out. Put that to the side, and then this can just lift away, and when you do that, this front part does come off. So just to make sure, we do have these cables here, so just keep that in mind. And be careful with this. Okay, this is actually screwed in, but this will flop around. This is like a little light diffuser thing. And I'm going to go ahead, just to be on the safe side, and go ahead and remove this. And that should be the same screw if I remember. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that Wi-Fi card. Alright, took the screw out. I just used this tape that's attached to it just to pull it out. And I'm just going to I'm just going to have this just sitting there since I don't need that now. Now we got that out of the way. One thing you will notice differently is I do have an SSD already installed on here. So if you were to install an SSD on this thing, and it has to be the SATA variant, not the M.2 version. So it's the older kind. You don't have to take that card out. You can just flip the case over, install the SSD on it, screw it down. You will have to get a little kit for it, since it doesn't come with one, unfortunately. But they're not that hard to find. And install it, do it in the reverse, and you're pretty much good to go. But the RAM is actually underneath the board. So what we have to do now is you got 2 ribbon cables on each side that we're going to have to remove. So I'm going to grab one of these and wait a minute. So yeah, we're got to flip this to do this, flip the gray clamping mechanism at the back of each clip. Okay, I had to reread the instructions and just double check. But let me see, because this part's important because you can actually easily break this. So hopefully this is in focus. So hopefully the camera can pick this up, but actually it might be easier on this one. But basically you got this back portion that has to flip up. So essentially with this, you want this to be flipped up, and then the cable just comes out easily. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, got both flaps taken care of. Now it's time to remove the screws from the casing. Or this is just... There's actually 6 screws that we need to remove. There's one here, one there, this one, this one here, and this one right here underneath this little rubber light diffuser thing. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these. And one thing I will give Atari credit for is in terms of the screws, even though they're Torx screws, at least so far it's all the same size. So far it's been T9 or T10 Torx screws. So I'm just going to continue removing these, and I'll just do a quick cut. Alright, got all 6 screws. Now this whole thing should lift out, or lift up, and it does. So we got this. We can just put that to the side for now. I'm just going to leave this metal plate just sitting there, because we're just going to flip this over, and here are the RAM. So I'm going to go ahead, take these out. These should be 4 gig versions. But they are Kingston, so that's cool. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and remove these, take them out, and grab the new sticks. And we're going to plop these in. So I'm going from 8 gigs to 16 gigs on this. And when you do put them back in, just make sure they go in. Actually, they go this way. Just make sure they go in on an angle. And these are keyed, so you can't put them in backwards. And then push it down. It goes in like that. Another thing to keep in mind with upgrading the RAM on the Atari VCS, you have to make sure you're putting the same kind in, same brand, same specs, and same amount. So essentially, if you are looking to upgrade, if you're going to get a 2-pack, go ahead and do it that way. If you're going to buy individual ones, just make sure you buy at least 2 of them, because they have to be exactly the same. And you also want to make sure, and part of the reason why I wanted to go with this one, there are cheaper options, but the VCS is known to be very, very finicky and very picky on what kind of RAM you put in this thing. So being that I know this brand and this particular kind works on the VCS, I'd rather spend like the extra $10 or so, or however much, price difference it would be, to get this one versus like a cheaper version. So now that the RAM is installed, I can go ahead, get the case, and we can start putting this thing back together. One thing I will say, I really wish Atari designed the bottom case of this where it's just like a little flap that you can open, because you obviously already have the cutout for the RAM, but you have to go through all this just to upgrade the RAM. Now for me, not really all that difficult, honestly, but realistically, they could have designed it so that you didn't have to go through all this. But for me personally, not really that difficult, but that's just me. So I'm going to go ahead and put the screws back on and go to the next step. All right, got the screws on. Now we're going to take these cables. We're going to slide them in once the bottom's out. Push this dark gray flap down, and it's secured. These you want to be careful with, because you don't want to damage these. So just keep that in mind. Alright, those are in. And really the last thing I have to do is take this part, Slide that in. And we're going to take the screw here and screw this down. And I'm gonna, yeah, okay. Just making sure this isn't rubbing up against the cable or anything, which is not. So gonna make sure, get all the dust and stuff. And now it's time to close this up. Like so. All right. Last thing to do is take these screws, screw them in, and just a little tip, when screwing them in, what I normally do is I put the screw in, I twist it the opposite direction until I feel like the screw like drops into something, and then I actually screw it in properly. Because what I'm trying to do, so right now I'm turning the screw reversed until it goes in the hole, and then once I hear and feel a click, I then screw it in, and then once it stops, it's screwed in. That will help avoid any cross-threading. So that's just a good rule of thumb to do. One more screw. Bottoms out. Now the last thing to do is obviously take your panels. Actually, I'm going to do the back one first. And now the front one. All right, it's fully installed. Last thing I need to do is hook this up. Cross my fingers that I did not screw anything up, and go from there. So let's do that. All right, got my VCS, and I'm gonna go ahead and connect this up, and we're gonna do a first time boot up with the upgraded RAM. Here goes nothing. All right. Is it going to fully boot? Yes, it is. Holy crap. First time boot up, it booted up just fine. That's sweet. Well, to show it on here, do I have to go in the BIOS? See, general settings. No. Yeah, it looks like I would actually have to go in the BIOS to make sure. But let's just go ahead. Whoops. Let's go ahead and just boot up a game, see what happens. So I know like these Airy games, they're pretty demanding on this system. So let's just see. Seems to load a little quicker. But I do need to check some settings.
With the help of the new automated machines, life became faster than ever before.
So if I go to graphics, okay, I do have it at 720. Now let's see what happens if I have it at absolute max. I mean, it could be smoother, but anyway, let's just go back to the menu. But yeah, it seems like it's working fine. Don't have to worry about that. But it does seem less sluggish. Like even with the being in the menu here. Like even at 8 gigs, there would be a little bit of a chug. But I'm not noticing that now. So it seems like there is some improvements. Let's take a look at Gun Tech 2. Yeah, I think if I went with 32 gigs, I'm not really going to notice any real difference. Quite honestly. But part of the reason why I wanted to upgrade the RAM is one of the things I plan on doing in the future is turning the VCS into an emulation box. Because it's essentially a PC, so I can either have like Linux or like a special version of Linux designed for emulation. I can put Windows on it, and have all the benefits of having Windows running on it. So I have a reason for upgrading this. I'm just using this primarily as a Atari VCS console for right now until later when I want to dive into that. So this is more just to essentially get it ready in the future and go from there. So it's obviously working, which is good. I'm pretty sure if I got a different RAM or a different brand of RAM, it would most likely be fine. But I'd rather just get something that I know from others that worked. So, yeah. But anyway, I'll end it here. And that's pretty much it for now. So, like always, have a good one. If you have a VCS, let me know what you think of the console so far. I'll actually be kind of interested.